We're absolutely delighted to have the record-setting Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman ji with us. And for more than a decade, the middle class has been amongst the staunchest supporters of the Modi Sarkar. And after each budget, and Nirmala ji has been on a few of these editor roundtables in the past, she's been asked by audiences sitting here, ki middle class ko kya mila? Hame kya diya? Now she has an answer to that, and naturally the budget has been receiving a lot of acclaim from those who've benefited. But over the next 45 minutes, we hope to discuss with the Finance Minister the state of the economy, because not just our domestic factors at play, you've got a lot of international headwinds in the form of President Donald Trump and all the uncertainty around tariffs that his policies potentially could unleash. Madam, welcome. Is this the best response you've had? Have you been sleeping better post-budget than in any of your past 8 budgets? Chain ki neend?
Well, I've always slept well.
Is the quality of sleep better?
I've slept as I would do every other year.
Is the incentive and the tax op given for taxpayers at one level an admission by the Modi government that urban consumption in particular was not growing fast, and therefore some kind of a brahmastra had to be pulled out to ensure that there is some comfort and some balm for the taxpayer? Is it born out of distress, this SOP that you've come out with?
No. In the last 3 or 4 years, we have continuously engaged with taxpayers, and in order that their trust is intact in the government, we have taken several steps. Faceless assessment is one. Taxpayers Charter, which we released in the budget, 21 if I remember correct, was the other. Faceless appeal, Vivad se Vishwas, sending certificates to prompt taxpayers, timely taxpayers, highest taxpayers, by-region taxpayers, even that. So in every budget you've had clear steps taken towards giving that sense that we respect taxpayers. And this one is in a continuation of that. I don't deny that this is going to have a collateral in consumption, in savings, and if you're confining your question only to urban, after all, taxpayers are all over the country, not just in urban areas. So this is a continuing part of Prime Minister Modi's effort to respect the service that taxpayers are doing in nation building.
Are you hoping that the highest ROI will be in the Delhi elections?
That's for y'all
Maximum
to
return
assess.
on every rupee left on the table in the Delhi elections. Is that part of the idea?
You should tell us about it.
But is it about the timing of the announcement?
The budget is on 1st February every year.
That's correct. But it's also about what Rahul asked, that ROI is going to be in the Delhi elections. So a lot of people are saying, specifically the political opponents, Arvind Kejriwal made a public demand that the tax slab should be raised to 10 lakh, and then you had a 12 lakh rupees, and then there were a lot of memes on the social media. So is it about the timing? Looking at, a lot of people are saying that it is because of the Delhi elections the government was forced to make such kind of an announcement.
No, I have answered in the first step itself that this is a continuous process, and every effort that Prime Minister puts to convey the message we respect taxpayer finds a place in the next coming budget, and so on.
Finance Minister, since you speak about a continuous process, please allow me to take the discussion beyond direct tax, where clearly we now have 70% roughly of PIT taxpayers out of the tax net, which is a very significant number. Post this, do you think the onus shifts to the GST Council to reform and give us a GST 3.0 for NDA 3.0 with some of the anomalies that have been spoken about? The centre has recognized them. You have reflected upon them in the past. Should the action now shift to indirect tax reform?
First, let me ask, what is GST 2.0 then, if this is going to be 3.0? I didn't know there was a 2.0. Okay. to be fair to the GST and the ministers who are all in the council, the work on rationalizing and simplifying GST rates had already commenced. In fact, it had commenced nearly 3 years ago. Then the scope was widened. Then newer ministers came in after some states went through election and they had different ministers join in. And now the work is almost complete. Even before the last GST meet in Rajasthan, quite an extensive work was already completed. I had actually spoken to the ministers, say, I need to have a bit more in-depth looking at it, because whilst reducing the items or reducing the rate of items which are in common man's list every day for everyday consumption, for me it was also important that we don't lose an opportunity that we can even bring down the number of rates, which was also the original intent, that we wanted fewer rates and lower rates. So work has got to happen on that, and I hope the GST Council will decide on it sooner.
Are you confident that you're close to some kind of consensus in the GST Council, and what are the key reforms? Because if you ask people sitting here, there's a sense that we pay too much tax, indirect taxes through GST, and this has gone overboard. So what's your message to those watching?
No, it's not gone overboard, Rahul. I keep giving the data to you. Every item has been scrutinized by the GST Council. You may not hear the state finance ministers coming to the media to speak in favor of, on behalf of GST Council. But that doesn't mean that there is a discordant note. Consensus prevails on every decision in the GST Council. With that said, data is released of how, even if on an average, if an item under the GST, goods or service, is taxed as at, let us say, 15.23%, you will still be lesser than the pre-GST and revenue neutral. You wouldn't be earning more than what you earned before, nor would you be charging more than what you charged before the GST was introduced. I could still be at 15. But what is it today? On an average across the board, goods and service, 11.23. What does it simply mean? That goods and services are taxed lesser than what they can be ideally. Where is 15.23 and where is 11 point something? That's the rate at which GST is taxing items. And every now and then I put a list of items which are used by common man on an everyday basis to say how they have become less expensive. At least the rates are less expensive, or rates are lesser than what they were prior to GST. So this word of mouth game which goes about GST, GST has become, GST. No, GST has actually reduced the rate of goods much better than what it was before the introduction of GST. And I actually challenge, even if there is one item where it has become more expensive than pre-GST, not one has become.
Fair point, ma'am.